What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fitness for Thought. Today, we've got a guest with us, Davey Jergens. Thank you for being here. You are currently coaching at, is it CrossFit 8035?
That's correct.
And you certified in personal training, nutrition, and CrossFit level 1. Is that correct?
Yep. And I have my USA weightlifting.
Yep, USAW. Awesome. Former collegiate athlete. Me and French first met Davey when he was a personal trainer at Iowa Strength here in Independence. And we wanted to have him on here today because he's pursuing kind of a similar career path as us. And also, it was pretty evident from just sharing a gym with you that you have a very driven mindset. So we're happy to have you on, and thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on here. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So I just kind of wanted to get into this with asking you how you kind of got into fitness in the first place. Was it just mainly through that avenue of most people with sports, or could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, like way back in the day, like 8th grade, like going into freshman year of high school, we started to lift for football, whatever, like just a very generalized lifting program. Like nobody really had any idea what was going on. We didn't have a strength coach or anything. And I was just kind of drawn to it. And then a buddy of mine, we started. Sorry, can you guys hear that? Yeah.
The dog?
No,
Alarm's going off.
Oh.
Yeah. It's pretty faint. You're good.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, anyways, just kind of got drawn to it right away. Like I loved the process of it, like the progress. Like obviously like beginner gains, like just doing anything in the gym's gonna work for you. So like you see results really quickly. So I got into that, and then I kind of me and my buddy, he was really into bodybuilding. So we started to work out together a lot. And so I started to train more of a bodybuilding style compared to like sports performance. And I just kind of fell in love with that side of it, and like building the mind muscle connection and everything. And pretty much took that and then, watched, YouTube videos and all that stuff to try to like be better about it throughout high school.
Yeah. And was it always kind of I know you eventually went to college to play sports. Was it always something that you thought you might do after college, or did you not know you were going to kind of make a career out of it?
Yeah, funny story with that. Like I didn't know that I was gonna make a career out of it until I kind of, like when I was in college, I call him my mentor. He was my strength coach and kind of showed me some different avenues with it. But freshman year, like you had to declare your major, and they like handed me a sheet with a list full of majors. I was like, man, I really should have thought about this before they handed me the sheet. So I just looked down the list, and I'm like, man, these all kind of suck. But there was one called exercise science. I was like, well, that sounds pretty interesting to me. Like, I'll go with that. So yeah, just on the seat of my pants, I pointed one out of the list and went with it and stuck with it all the way through college.
Awesome. And now you're training, like I mentioned before, you did train at Iowa Strength. Now you're at CrossFit 8035. Have you been training at specific groups, just strictly CrossFit, or is it kind of everybody, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's been like my coaching right now is like strictly CrossFit.
Okay.
Like a few personal training clients here and there, obviously, like you just meet their needs. Like I have a well-rounded background, so like I can match whatever, but I really enjoy coaching the Olympic lifts.
Yep.
The snatch and clean and jerk for sure. But coaching CrossFit classes compared to one-on-one training has been Surprisingly, I like it a lot more.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So you've been enjoying it a lot lately there, and you've also been competing. I've been seeing too.
Yeah, yep, full steam on the competing side as well. So balancing myself as an athlete and then as a coach in my profession
Yeah,
is something I've been figuring out for the past 2 years.
yeah, and it's got to be. I know Des Moines. That's quite a bit bigger than Independence. Has that kind of opened up some more opportunities? Maybe pushed you to grow a little bit, learn a lot more from different people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I love Independence. I love my time there. Training at Iowa Strength is definitely hold a special place in my heart with my time there. But I moved to Des Moines with the intention of training CrossFit at 8035 to push myself as an athlete. But it's also pushed me on the professional side too. So like obviously there's some good coaches in the area. There's good CrossFit coaches all around the metro. And then like I think in a couple of years I really want to pursue the avenue of like strictly Olympic lifting coaching or like the sport of weightlifting. So there's a few pretty good coaches in the area that I want to you know be on the same level as someday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of cool to see you make that jump and hear about some of the kind of next or some of your future goals. Would you say what other kind of fitness related goals do you have in the future, maybe on the competing side of things?
For competing, so this past year, beginning of June, our team, myself and my team, competed Granite Games up in Minnesota, which is a semifinal event for CrossFit. So it's the step right before you go to the actual CrossFit Games. So, the top five move on, and we tied for 10th. But so it's like a little wake up call that the games is within reaching distance. So that's definitely the goal going in next year. And we had everybody already training for it. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, has that been a nice transition? I know a lot of times athletes have trouble after college kind of scratching their competitive itch. Has that kind of been nice for you to still compete in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like when I was at Iowa Strength, I tried a couple different things like uh I did the powerlifting meet. I trained for the strongman meets. I did the Olympic weightlifting meet, and they were all fun, but they weren't very fulfilling. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's just like like just kind of underwhelming. And then when I did my first CrossFit competition, that was a whole new beast to deal with,
Yeah,
and that fire. It's it was definitely like I'll say it's a lot more fulfilling to be fitter than somebody than it is to just simply like be stronger than somebody or like better or be faster. Like to have that whole spectrum to be completely fitter than somebody, it's pretty fun.
yeah. And you also have that team aspect there too, especially if you're competing with groups of people. That kind of brings you back to maybe the more sports style competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a lot of so I did a lot of like local competitions around the area, and so most of those are like two-person competitions. Um, so like transitioning from that to like a four-person team. So our team is two males and two females. Um, and just dealing with that team culture compared to having like a coach there, like preaching culture. Just developing those relationships with that team is like post college has been it's been fun to do in a challenge all in itself.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't mean to step over your toes, French. I know you had some questions about maybe the college athlete aspect of it, because you're kind of in that lane too.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess first off, when you were at Simpson, who was Pete the strength coach there? Was Pete Trainer the strength coach?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right, sweet. Yeah, so like you mentioned him as being kind of like a mentor to you, and I've actually interned under Pete. He's coaching at Urbandale now, and I can definitely speak to that. He's a great coach, even better guy. So, kind of what can you kind of talk about the importance of like having someone to, guide you along the way, and like what you've gotten out of that relationship and how it's helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I can't say enough good things about Pete Trainer there. He was he wasn't the original strength coach my freshman year. I think he came in my sophomore year. And then I was a UGA underneath him, like an undergraduate assistant for the strength conditioning, and just got to know him really well. Like obviously, like he's a great coach and a great guy out of coaching, and really just had a lot to learn from him in both those aspects as a coach and as the man I want to be in the future. So we had a lot of chats, and we did like a book club. So like we got to dive into some like the mindset of some stuff, and it was really good to I'm really glad I had the experience to win from him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think a lot of people, when they leave college, that's kind of the end of their learning to an extent. They don't have people hovering over them, telling them to hit the books and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely good to have mentors like that you can go back to and continually learn from. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, what's the biggest thing you took away from being a college athlete, whether that's, whether it's something that translated to your competitive edge now in CrossFit or just like life in general? What's the biggest thing you got from that?
Um, that's a great question. Um, Obviously, like being a two-sport athlete with football going right into track, like I didn't have a whole lot of time for messing around outside of that. I was pretty straightforward on the path of just trying to be the best athlete I could. So dialing in the nutrition, not partying a whole lot and all that fun stuff. But it definitely, like as it transfers to CrossFit, like that competitive experience in from college has been really helpful. Dealing with those high pressure situations, like definitely learn to thrive from that pressure rather than getting crumbled by it. So that's been really helpful in CrossFit, and then obviously just the general athleticism, because you never know what's going to get thrown at you. And then obviously for life and the man up kind of being like those go hand in hand. Like you hear it all the time. Sports is teaching you, characteristics of life. Like being disciplined, being honest, integrity. All those characters that you need to be a good athlete transfer over to being a good person. Like a famous, not famous, but a well-known CrossFit coach, Ben Bergeron, says, good athletes or good people make good athletes. So I think, if you focus on who you are as a person, it's going to transfer over who you are as an athlete.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that take. Um, yeah, it's good stuff. What are some things, if anything, that you wish you would have started doing like earlier, whether that be in your fitness journey or like in your career as like a fitness professional, like something that you've incorporated over the years that you were like, dang, like I should have been doing this a long time ago. This would have really helped me out.
Um, you know, I probably should have done more social media, to be honest with you. For the coaching side, I'm not huge on the social media, but nowadays it's almost necessary for the profession to kind of put yourself out there. So like I really like what you're doing, French. Like I watch your videos and stuff like that. So
Thanks.
just your simple tips, your your nutrition tips, like your mobility, your stretching, all that good content that you're sharing. It's kind of stuff I wish I would have started in college. So
Yeah,
I think that.
yeah,
Go
for
ahead.
sure. For sure. It's kind of weird because social media can be synonymous with like distraction and not being productive, yet it's almost kind of vital in a lot of careers that you be on it to an extent. But I think where a lot of people go wrong is they become too much of a consumer and not as much as like a creator or a producer. Like they consume all the content, but they don't put anything out. And so they don't really get as much in return as they could have. So that's definitely, I definitely believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going off that, like, what are some things that, obviously you work in Des Moines, a lot of people, a lot of competition, a lot of opportunity. So what are some things that you have done, or like what are some tips you would give to like market yourself or present yourself in a, you know, good manner effectively without just trying to sell people bullshit and still being like true to like what's actually going to help people?
Uh, that's a good question as well. Like obviously, like if you have a good social media um page, that's gonna help. But like we have a pretty good gym. We have a great gym, but we have a pretty good amount of members, and then obviously coaching classes, just putting my face in front of all those members and getting to know like each one of them personally. And I think that just kind of helps build those relationships, and then you know that is huge network for you. So like it's about, you hear that old saying, like it's about who you know, not what you know. So just building good relationships with all those members, you know, that kind of gets your name out there. And you know, if you're a good coach, they're gonna say you're a good coach. If you're a crappy coach, they're gonna tell people. But I think I've been doing a pretty good job so far.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I guess someone that I would consider a mentor to me, he told me that who you know will get you the job, but what you know will keep you the job. So you got to have a little bit of both. It definitely helps to know people, but at the end of the day, if you're not good at what you do, you're going to be exposed for that and your success is going to come to an end. So you got to have a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like that. That brings a little bit more full circle to that saying.
Yeah, for sure. Nolan, do you got any other
Yeah.
questions there?
Yeah. So, one of the things I wanted to ask was, for not just for people pursuing a career in fitness, but for just everyday people, what's one, I guess you could say, habit that you would recommend developing, whether that's reading or, really focusing on your nutrition or sleep, or what's one thing that you think, because I feel like it's a, you're really good about doing a lot of the little stuff, which some people might not see. But what's one thing you think people could do, like you would recommend to someone off the street?
Uh, Sorry, you cut out there a little bit at the end. You said what's one thing to recommend people for what?
Yeah. So just what's one general habit that you think everyone should develop other
Well,
than just strictly exercising?
for to live just a better life in general.
Yeah.
Um, I would definitely uh like besides you know exercising, I definitely nutrition should be the list. Like you don't need to like eat like I do by any means, or like probably like you too as well. But like having a mostly unprocessed diet, 3 solid meals a day, with lean protein, it's just going to help everything in your life. So I'm a nutrition coach as well, and a lot of people, like, just getting them to eat the proper amount gives them energy throughout the day that they didn't have before. Like, I had some clients, that were drinking like 4 or 5 cups of coffee today. Now I got them down to no cups of coffee, or like 1 a day, just because they have more natural energy from just eating better. So definitely nutrition, high quality nutrition would be the biggest one.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I don't think people realize how much energy they're leaving on the table just by not eating. And it's a compounding effect. I mean, it just ruins so many other aspects of your life. So yeah, that's a great one. When it comes to people who are looking to maybe follow in a path that you did or something similar, kind of guys like us, other than, I know you mentioned that you would probably wish you would have started the social media thing earlier, but what's one thing that you would recommend for someone pursuing a career in fitness?
I would definitely say, like, real world experience for sure. Get some kind of experience underneath your belt, whether that's an internship or shadowing a coach or a trainer or something. Like, all the base knowledge that you get in college is great. It's helpful to an extent, but, like, for example, like, we would get a case study in college, like, here's 55-year-old Susie who has COPD and other health issues. Like, most of the time, you're not going to get a client like that walking in the door. Some of those cases were a little far-fetched, but more real world experience. It's like, okay, I'm going to deal with Sally, who has 3 kids at home, works a stressful job, but needs to eat better and get some fitness in her life. How do I tackle that situation compared to whatever random cases? So definitely real world experience is gonna go way further than the book knowledge that we got in college.
Yeah, I think that's super true. And that's the case with a lot of things. You really don't know until you jump into it, but especially with our profession, a lot of times, because a lot of it is about building relationships and trying to express to people a way, what they need to do, but it's the way that you tell them so that they actually do it instead of, just fluffing it off. I mean, you can only do so much with them during the session. A lot of the work has to be done by them outside of the session. So yeah, I think that's a great tip.
Can I build off that real quick?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of ask you something off that, do you have any tips for kind of navigating, like, because in my experience, from what I've experienced, like, strength and conditioning for sure, and I'm sure like personal training and stuff like that is definitely similar, because a lot of people that get into those type of jobs, they initially get into it because they were an athlete at some point and they loved to exercise. They loved the process of, physical fitness. And it's a super competitive environment, especially when, I know in the college strength and conditioning setting, it's super tough to get a good job. You have a lot of people that are making well below minimum wage when you equate it out to the hours worked. And then you have a few people at the top that are making all the money. And it's just kind of like a ruthless cycle. And I'm sure in personal training and stuff like that, it's probably pretty similar. Are there any tips that you would have to navigate that, competitive environment?
Yeah, I would say, just keep honing your craft. Obviously, if whatever you're doing, you should try to be the best at it. So, put your there. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and definitely be coachable. Always, be a sponge. Always be consuming knowledge and making that your own way. And then I think doing that, like, you'll create your you create your own brand for yourself, and I think that'll take you a long way if you commit to that continual growth. And I think you can stick it out longer than most people and climb that ladder.
Yeah, awesome. Sometimes it's just a matter of not even outworking, but outlasting the people that are just kind of in it to try to make a lot of money and their heart's not really in it. So you got to kind of make sure you're in it for the right reasons and kind of just be persistent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was listening to a podcast a while back, Andy Priscilla, the First Form CEO or whatever, or creator, like he was talking about, just outlasting the other companies, like, just stick with it and you're just going to climb those tiers, just by simply, outlasting the people and not giving up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I can't remember who said it, but it's an entrepreneur of some sort, and he has a whole, like a 4-part system where it's outwork, outlearn, out strategize, and then the last one is outlast. So like, I mean, in today's world, like it's kind of a no-brainer that yeah, you have to work hard. Everybody works hard. Like that isn't going to be, most cases, that's not going to be enough to get to where you want to be if you have ambitious goals, unless you're just extremely talented. You got to be able to be persistent over time, continually learn, not let your ego get too big, and continually try to improve. So that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that tier system a lot. It's so true. So many people will do something for a year or two and then not see the progress they wanted and give up.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I think especially in today's world, there's, you can order food on your phone and it can be there in 10 minutes. A lot of like instant gratification. You can live a pretty comfortable life without really having to try super hard. But if you want to really get to, the higher levels or whatever your goals are, it's going to take hard work, obviously. But I think time is always going to be part of the equation, and it can either work with you or it can work against you, whether you're using your time well or wasting it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to ask you is, from pretty much from the get-go, when I would first run into you at Iowa Strength, one of the things I admired about you so much was your mindset of just being so driven. Would you say that was developed over time? Or I guess a better question would be, what do you think, what would be a piece of advice that you can give to someone to kind of develop that edge? Do you think it takes just years of discipline, or was there some sort of mantra that clicked with you? Or is that kind of just how you've always been?
A little bit of both. I think it's kind of been. I think it's in my hardwiring. Like it's part of who I've been. Kind of thinking back on. I thought about that a lot, but it's also like a skill to be developed too. Like, my mindset is kind of like nothing will deter me. Like there's no roadblock that get in my way that'll stop me. Like you'll have to be throwing dirt on my grave before I stop what I want to do. But if you want to like a cool story that I think about sometimes, like thinking about like where that work ethic, that discipline came from. So like back to like the early days of just starting working out, back to like the 8th grade, 9th grade, the freshman year of high school. So we had hang cleans in our program, and obviously like the technique was awful and I didn't know what I was doing. But the lightest like rubber bumper plates that we had were 25s. So like on the bar, it's 95 pounds. And I wasn't strong enough to do it. So we would do our lifting and then we would go do like our speed training or whatever. And then like people would shower and go get ready for school. After speed training, I was so embarrassed that I couldn't do, 95 pounds. I'd go back into the weight room, throw the metal 5s on the bar or metal 10s or whatever it was, and I would just crank out as many reps as I could, just nonstop. And at the time when I was 14 years old or whatever, like I didn't think twice about it. It just felt like the right thing to do. Like I needed to get strong enough so I could put on the bumper plates like everybody else could.
Yeah.
But now I think about that, it's like, oh, I've always kind of had that drive.
Yeah. Always had that competitive edge and that drive. Yeah, I love that. I love that mindset, that kind of like there's nothing that can stop me. And yeah, I know that takes time to develop, but I just have always admired that about you. Um, Another thing I wanted to ask you was when you made the transition to CrossFit, did you find that there was um, it seems like the general consensus is they have a very supportive culture and a lot of people that are willing to push each other. Did you notice that right away?
Yeah. I mean, definitely like CrossFit, like as much crap and backlash they get for like being like a cult or whatever, like especially in the early days. It is a one of the best like communities to be a part of. It's one of the most inclusive, I think. People of any race, of any disability, like uh, you know, of any walk of life can walk into a CrossFit gym and get a good workout in.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always heard that from many of my friends who are involved in CrossFit, and it's just nice to hear that validated again. Um, but yeah, uh, French, I got a couple more questions, but I'm not trying to step on your toes. Do you have any other questions for Davey?
Yeah, I just came up with one real quick. Nothing crazy, but so you moved from your previous job at Iowa Strength and Independence to Des Moines. Now, I'm not sure the exact population of Independence, but I know it's less than 10,000. I'm almost
About
certain.
6, I think.
Yeah, 6,000. And then Des Moines, obviously, when you figure in the metro area, probably at least 500,000 people. And I mean, it seems like everybody's moving there. The suburbs around it are just getting bigger. It's very attractive for young professionals because of the cost of living and all that good stuff. How big of a part does location play a role in, opportunity and growth as a coach, like as a fitness professional, in your experience?
Uh, I would say location is huge. Um, especially so like a good example for like personal training. Um, like what I charge now down in Des Moines is I'm able to make more money than I was able to charge when I was at Independence. Just the difference in population and the amount of people to that's going to be somebody that's going to your fair price, pay you what you're worth. And then obviously like to go off of that as well, like there's just more competition down here, both professionally as a coach and on the athlete side, like so you're just constantly just being pushed to be better. Like obviously, like for me personally, it's not I'm a pretty self-driven person, so I'm always like pushing to be better. But if you're at a small town, like it'd probably be pretty easy to get complacent with your knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that there's like, um, do you think that the bigger the better? Like, could you ever see yourself moving to like a Chicago or like a Kansas City or something like that to even like up the competition and opportunity a little bit more? Or what do you think about that?
Uh, yeah, I would if an opportunity ever presented itself. But it would take a good opportunity. But I like the Des Moines area. And I like being in Iowa, kind of like I just like the mindset, like you come from Iowa, you're just gonna be a little tougher. You're gonna be a little rougher around the edges. So I like it here, but like I said, if there's ever an opportunity, I would maybe go bigger.
For sure. Awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. I've always wanted to ask. I usually try to ask most people when I see them. What do you have any book recommendations that like flipped a switch in your mind? Because I feel like that's one thing that we share in common with a lot of people who are just very self improvement driven. They usually read quite a bit.
Like my favorite book, I actually gifted it to Chris, done by strength before I left there, just kind of as a thank you. It's called The Time Traveler's Gift. So I definitely like that one. It goes through, it's a pretty easy read, but it just kind of goes through some general characteristics to focus on in your life in a cool story format. So I really like that one, Time Traveler's Gift. And then I've read a lot of other books. Like right now I'm currently reading Matt Fraser's Hard Work Pays Off book. And that's just interesting to hear from his perspective. And a couple other ones I have. A good one is Lead for God's Sake. I have it here actually. So that's a really good one. If you want to be a leader, The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink is really good. Those two have been good for leading me in my professional career, and just being a leader in general. And then I always like the saying, master the mundane, like doing all the little things every day, over and over correctly. So another one by Andy Andrews here is The Little Things. So that kind of goes hand in hand with that. Like the little things are easy to do, but just as easy not to do. So like just doing the daily disciplines correctly into your full potential every day is good.
Yeah, those are all. I'll have to check some of those out. I've read Dichotomy of Leadership. That one's really good. And when you were describing the little things, that sounds a lot like the book I'm reading now that French actually lent me, called The Slight Edge. So
It's exactly what I thought.
yeah, so
Just as easy to do, just as easy not to do.
I'll definitely check those out. So, French, do you have any other questions?
You answered everything I wanted to know.
Yeah. We appreciate you being on. We don't want to keep you too long. Do you have any final advice for us or anything you want to say?
Yeah, I wanna ask you guys a question. But obviously, for that, I'll connect with you guys outside of this. I would definitely like to get some of your book recommendations and everything like that too. But a question I got for you guys, something that was asked to me when I was in college that kind of stuck with me. And it goes, I'll probably butcher it a little bit, but it goes along the lines of like, how do you like define yourself, like as a person? Like, what do you identify as? So like in college I said, I'm an athlete, so being able to identify or what you identify as, and then being able to decouple that and take that away. So for example, like in college when I was asked that, I said, oh, like I'm a football player, I'm an athlete. And then the follow-up question is, who are you if that's taken away? Like if you are no longer an athlete, if you're no longer a football player, like who are you as a person without that identification? So that's just something I'd like you guys to think about. It really helped me out along the way because, you know, so many people are stuck in their identification. You know, whether it's any profession, like, oh, I'm a doctor, okay, or oh, you know, I'm a financial advisor or something. Whatever people identify as, take that away from the picture and then figure out who you are as a person without that.
Yeah.
How do you think that like holds people back if they can't like remove their identity and figure out who they really are?
I think it, like, at least in my case, I think it puts a ceiling on your potential of who you can be. So like, if I only live my life as an athlete, like, I'm cutting myself short on what I can be in every other area of my life.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome question because I mean, we're quick to put a label on everything, whether it's a person or a group of people or ourselves. And I think it's definitely good to be able to step back and kind of separate from that. So I have to think about that for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Davey, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it. I think I can speak for both French and I that we've always kind of looked up to the way that you've done it. I think you've done it right. You just always put in the work, so we appreciate that, and we appreciate you taking the time to do this. Give us a little bit of advice, and wish you nothing but the best. And we'll connect with you soon here. So, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, both you guys. And like, I know as much as I can give you, I learned from you guys too. So I appreciate that. Look up to both of you guys. You guys are both well on the right path as well. So I'm excited to see where future takes both of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon, Davey.
All right.
All right. Thank you,
Take care,
man.
guys.
Thanks.
Peace.